Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating book, The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane. It came out back in 2012, which feels like a really specific moment in time, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We were just past the 2008 financial crisis.
Right, and suddenly there was this huge focus on individual skills, personal branding.
Resilience, yeah.
Yeah.
Soft skills weren't just nice extras anymore. They felt critical. How you connected, how you influenced people.
Exactly, and that's where this book landed.
Yeah. Cabane, she's coached executives, worked with places like Stanford, Yale. She came in challenging this whole idea.
The idea that charisma is just something you're born with, like magic.
Precisely. She said, no, wait. Charisma isn't some mystical gift for the lucky few, the Steve Jobs types. It's a set of behaviors, a skill.
And if it's a skill?
It can be learned. It can be practiced, developed systematically.
Okay, so that's what we're doing today then. We're going to give you the shortcut, the core tools from the book. We'll break down what Cabane identifies as the key pieces: presence, power, and warmth.
The goal is that by the end of this, you'll have a clearer picture of how you might enhance these in your own life.
Yeah, the real genius here is taking this kind of fuzzy concept, charisma, and making it practical, actionable. It's not magic, it's behaviors. It's mindset shifts. You practice them consistently, and people perceive you as charismatic.
Okay, let's unpack that triad then. Presence, power, warmth. Because it sounds like they really need to work together. Let's start with presence. Sounds simple enough?
It sounds simple, but it's probably the hardest. Cabane argues it takes real internal discipline.
Discipline how?
It's about being fully 100% engaged in this moment, right here, right now, not thinking about your to-do list or what you'll say next. And crucially, it means managing that voice in your head. You know, the one judging you, worrying about what they think.
Ah, the internal monologue.
Exactly. If that's running wild, your focus is inside, not outside. Your presence is basically zero.
But if you can quiet that noise,
then the other person feels truly heard, seen, valued. And that feeling, that's incredibly charismatic. Okay, that makes sense. And that feeling connects directly to the next part, doesn't it? Power. Now, power can sound a bit aggressive. How does Cabane frame it?
yeah, that's a really important distinction. It's not about dominance, not aggression. In this context, power is about the perception of confidence, authority, capability, like you have agency. You can affect things around you.
Okay, so projecting confidence.
Yes, but here's the fascinating bit she points out. Our brains are wired to spot threats, right? So if you only project high power, the other person's brain might actually default to seeing you as a potential danger or just intimidating.
Which leads us straight to warmth. It's not optional then.
Absolutely not. Warmth is the antidote. It signals goodwill, empathy, care. It basically tells the other person's brain, this power isn't a threat to you, it might even be for you.
So it reframes the power.
Exactly. It transforms power from potentially threatening to potentially inspiring, but timing is critical. Cabane stresses you need to project warmth first, or at least simultaneously. If you lead with only power, you create an impression of arrogance or coldness.
And then you're fighting uphill to correct that first impression.
You spend the whole interaction trying to dig yourself out. So power gets attention, but warmth builds trust. You need both.
Okay. Presence, power, warmth. Got the components. But you mentioned mindset earlier. Cabane says just acting charismatic isn't enough.
Right. Trying to fake the behaviors without shifting your internal state. Well, it often comes across as inauthentic or just falls flat. The internal work is foundational.
What does that internal work look like?
It starts with what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. Just the basic belief that, yes, you can actually get better at this stuff, that it's not fixed.
Okay, belief is step one.
But maybe the most practical piece is managing anxiety. She puts a huge emphasis on self-compassion because anxiety is the #1 charisma killer. Why?
Because it turns your focus inward again. Hijacks presence.
Exactly. You're trapped in your head, worrying. Self-compassion is the tool to break that cycle.
How does that work? Like if you're nervous before a big presentation.
She gives concrete techniques. One is sort of defusing or delabeling the feeling. So instead of spiraling like, oh God, I'm so anxious, I'm going to bomb, you observe it more neutrally. Like, okay, I'm noticing a tightness in my chest. My mind is labeling this anxiety.
Creating distance?
Yes. It stops that negative feedback loop where the anxiety feeds on itself. Being kind to yourself in that moment, acknowledging the feeling without judgment, allows your more natural, authentic self, your inherent charisma, to actually come through.
Instead of being smothered by self-doubt.
Precisely.
And alongside self-compassion, she talks about behavioral flexibility, being able to adapt.
Yeah, this is key, because the right blend of presence, power, and warmth isn't fixed. It depends entirely on the situation, right? Think about a surgeon explaining a complex procedure. They need high power, calm confidence, maybe less overt warmth in that moment.
Okay.
But that same surgeon talking to a scared patient's family member, they need to dial up the warmth significantly. Show empathy. Listen actively.
So flexibility is reading the room and adjusting those dials, power, warmth, presence accordingly.
That's it, matching your style to the audience and what you need to achieve in that interaction.
It's interesting comparing this to, say, older stuff like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends. That feels more about external rules, maybe.
That's a great point. Carnegie offers fantastic social strategies. Remember names, smile, be interested. And they work. But Cabane goes deeper into the why. She's looking at the psychology, even the neurology underneath those behaviors.
Like, why does remembering someone's name make them feel good?
Exactly. What's happening in their brain, what's happening in your brain when you manage your anxiety effectively. How does body language trigger certain perceptions? It's less about just the handshake technique and more about your internal state while you're shaking the hand. She really deconstructs it into these psychological building blocks.
And I think that deconstruction, that focus on the internal mechanics is what makes it feel, well, applicable to anyone. It's not just tricks.
Right. It moves away from feeling like manipulation and towards self-awareness and self-mastery, which is a pretty universal desire, isn't it? Connection, influence.
We all want to connect better, feel more effective.
Yeah. It's about empowerment through understanding yourself and how interactions actually work.
Okay, so we understand the theory, the triad, the mindset shifts. But how do we actually do this, especially under pressure? Let's talk practical strategies.
Right. The actionable stuff. For presence, mindfulness is huge, but not necessarily hour-long meditations.
Micro practices.
Exactly. Like before you walk into a meeting, just take 30 seconds. Focus only on the feeling of your breath going in and out. Or focus intensely on a physical sensation like your feet on the ground. Anything to anchor you firmly in the present moment.
Cuts through the mental chatter.
Instantly reduces it. It pulls your focus out of future worries or past regrets and into the now. That boosts presence immediately.
And for building that inner confidence, that sense of power, she talks about visualization.
Yeah, but not just daydreaming about success. It has to be specific sensory rehearsal.
How do you mean?
You mentally walk through a successful interaction, but you engage all your senses. What does the room look like? What does your voice sound like? Calm, measured. How does your body feel? Relaxed, open posture.
So you're almost pre-living it.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Because apparently the brain isn't great at telling the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one.
Great.
So by practicing success mentally in detail, you actually reduce the body's physical anxiety response and build genuine self-assurance before the real event happens.
Okay, internal state handled with mindfulness and visualization. Now, stepping into the interaction, how do we project power and warmth non-verbally?
This is where body language is critical. Cabane points out, like many others, that nonverbals often speak way louder than words. For power, think controlled and expansive. Steady eye contact, not staring, but holding the gaze confidently. Open body postures.
Yeah.
Taking up a little space, not shrinking or fidgeting. Shoulders back. And importantly, voice tone. Calm, measured pace. Maybe a slightly lower pitch. It conveys control.
No rushing.
Rushing signals nervousness. A measured pace signals you're comfortable, you're in command of the situation.
Okay, that's power. What about projecting warmth non-verbally? Making sure you don't just seem powerful, but also caring.
Warmth comes through in the smaller, more subtle cues of engagement. Things like showing open palms. Sometimes it's an ancient signal of trustworthiness.
Right.
Leaning in slightly when someone is talking, nodding to show you're listening. And genuine micro-expressions, a real smile that reaches the eyes, a softening of the face.
Active listening cues.
Exactly. She calls them active listening exercises in action. It can even be subtly mirroring some of the other person's positive body language. It all signals, I'm engaged, I care, my power is here to connect, not dominate.
This sounds like a lot to practice. It's not a one-and-done read.
Oh, absolutely not. Mastery takes practice, like any skill. And Cabane really stresses self-assessment and reflection.
Like keeping track.
And maybe keeping a journal. After an important conversation, ask yourself, how present was I? Did I balance power and warmth effectively? Where did I feel anxious? What worked well?
Treating it like deliberate practice in sports or music.
Exactly. Set small, measurable goals. Maybe focus on improving eye contact this week. Or practice that pre-meeting mindfulness exercise. Track your progress. That's how you build the skill over time. Accountability.
Okay, so bringing it all together for everyone listening, what's the big takeaway here? If there's one thing to remember from the charisma myth, it's probably that charisma. Well, it's not mystical. It's learnable.
Completely. It's a skill set built on presence, power, and warmth. And because it's a skill set, anyone can develop it with the right understanding and practice, regardless of personality type.
Which is pretty empowering when you think about it.
Absolutely. It democratizes charisma. It gives you tools to be more effective, sure, but also potentially more empathetic, more connected in your relationships, both professional and personal.
It leads to, hopefully, more meaningful interactions.
That's the goal.
Oh.
Influence that comes from genuine connection.
And this is something that kind of lingers after reading the book. This systematic approach does raise a really interesting question, doesn't it? We're learning how to be charismatic almost strategically, how to dial up warmth here, project power there. When you're consciously developing and deploying these behaviors, how do you make sure it stays authentic? How do you balance being strategically charismatic with just being genuinely you?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where is that line between skillful self-presentation and feeling, well, fake or manipulative?
Yeah.
It's a tension, I think, a balancing act. Knowing the techniques gives you options, gives you control, but ensuring it comes from a place of genuine intent that requires ongoing self-awareness.
It's the complexity you're left to navigate yourself.
Something to definitely keep reflecting on as you practice these ideas.
A really worthy challenge. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the charisma myth. We hope this gives you some practical tools and maybe some new perspectives on developing your own presence, power, and warmth. Go out and practice.